Justin on a 6-card hand right now.
This is the deck that I imagine has to mulligan a lot. You
does.
play 4 Knight's Whisper, but you're not keeping because your hand is Knight's Whisper.
When your deck starts playing Knight's Whisper and Temple of Malice, it's because your cards filtering and selection is just not good enough, so you're scraping.
Right.
See, look, Spell Snare wouldn't have mattered. Here's Celestial Colonnade for Jim Davis.
I think he might have played differently.
Collective Brutality, discarding Gristlebrand. All right, Ryan. Now I'm checking off a square. Inventor's Fair gaining life now makes me win twice.
Ooh. What square did you get?
Collective Brutality, cast using 2 modes.
Wow.
You drain for 2 and take a card.
I thought that I forgot that you checked Vine's Vast for it, and I thought you were pulling a fast one, and you were calling this kicker.
What? You mean like how Tireless Tracker has Landfall?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Tireless Tracker has Landfall. It's the best card ever printed with Landfall.
Here's a funny interaction. Justin grabbed Logic Knot. Jim drew Spell Snare.
Oh, I was going to get him. Here's the Goryo's Vengeance. Oh, that's just such a beating.
Boom. Got him.
That's why we leave it on top. That's how you dodge the brutality. That is a brutal play, but going the other way. Jim Davis.
Really
with the counter
big fan.
spell.
God, Spell Snare is so good. Get your copies today.
Yeah, if you just always draw on the turn before your opponent plays a 2-mana spell, it's really good.
That's how you want to do it. It's not Jim's first rodeo.
You know, when I play Lantern, I don't mill your Spell Snares.
I believe you.
You can, and it's on top of your deck. I say you can have
when
that
I play
one. I don't tap the Codex Shredder for that.
I board out my Spell Snares.
That's my bar. Is this card good? Do I tap the Codex Shredder for it? Yes or no?
So Fatal Push pretty bad, but
no Fatal Push. Nope, we don't tap the Codex Shredder for that one.
Pretty weak card. Jim has Lightning Helix. You think that's a weak card?
I just don't tap the Codex Shredder ever. So this is actually really.
You try not to.
It's the worst. Because then there might be another card under it that you wish you'd tap it for.
It's true.
It's best to just play Lantern for value so you can watch them draw their cards. It's like telepathy.
Now, Justin's been making some land drops. We're getting into Through the Breach territory.
Yeah, and that's not too bad. He only has 2 cards in his hand. One thing about the Goryo's Vengeance deck is it doesn't reload particularly well. It's like
you got to draw these.
It's got
Whispers.
one good shot and then usually a second one, and if you stop them both, then it's done.
Yeah. Just so many elements of the deck that just don't combine. You got to have a creature in your graveyard for the Goryo's Vengeance to do anything. You got to have a creature in your hand for the Through the Breach to do anything. Drawing multiples of either of those is pretty poor.
Justin has just continued to draw land. He just passed the turn there, did not make a land drop. Now up to 3 cards in hand. Jim starts the slow end step burns with Lightning Helix. Justin to 19. Remember, he gained 2 life off of that Collective Brutality.
In these matchups where you don't expect to be hitting any creatures, you just start firing off Lightning Helix. Part of the reason you see Jim has a Snapcaster Mage available.
Knight's Whisper, and I like the discipline on Jim's side. Has Snapcaster Mage and Spell Snare, but then, just lets Justin draw the cards.
Yeah, you want to hit a Goryo's Vengeance if you want to Spell Snare something.
Now we're thinking about Snapcasting a Lightning Helix instead. And he will. End step. Snapcaster, Helix, Justin to 14.
I believe a backup Snapcaster is available.
Yeah.
A little bit tough to Snapcaster Logic Knot and Snapcaster Spell Snare in the same turn. Also unlikely that Jim needs to do both of those things.
Jim draws Electrolyze. Passes. Justin passes back. We're going to see an end step Electrolyze, I think. Actually, well, if he does that, he could get Through the Breached.
But the thing about it
wouldn't attack.
Well, yeah, exactly. With Justin's life total, you care more about gaining life with the Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
I will say that drawing 7, there are combinations of 7 that make things really tough for Jim. If we pick up Nourishing Shoal, Wordspawn Worm, let's say 2 copies of both of those, then suddenly you get to draw a lot of cards, maybe set up with a Through the Breach on the following turn.
Yeah, and that's why Jim, as you saw there, did not end step the Electrolyze. Passes. We're going to see Nourishing Shoal, splicing Goryo's Vengeance on World Spine Worm. I like this from Justin a lot.
Yeah, you don't splice a lot of spells in Modern. This deck does it more than most.
So it's Nourishing Shoal pitching World Spine Worm, splicing Goryo's Vengeance, targeting Gristlebrand. So if this works, Justin will get a Gristlebrand.
Yeah, so the way that Splice works, all the spells are just stapled into one spell.
It's a big card with a lot of text on it.
They have the converted mana cost of the first spell. So this is green plus, what's World Spine Worm? A 12 and 11?
11.
Yeah, so this is a 13 mana spell or whatever, so you can't spell snare it, but you can logic knot it, and that will take care of the Goryo's Vengeance. But then you have to worry about the fact that Justin still has Goryo's Vengeance in his hand.
Right. So here's Snapcaster Mage. It can target Logic Knot. He has to Logic Knot it for 3 to make it countered. So he'll delve 2, pay 1, leave the spell snare, or he'll delve, or he'll do it for 4. I think he's doing it for 4 in case.
Simian Spirit Guide.
Right, so it counters it. But you mentioned the Goryo is still in Justin's hand.
And Gristlebrand still in Justin's
Yeah,
graveyard.
and there's no second spell snare in Jim's deck. So here comes Gristlebrand.
You see?
It's the best card. Justin draws 7, goes to 3. But he has gotten Gristlebrand into play. 2 Simian Spirit Guides, a Faithless Looting, some other cards. We'll see what all he gets.
And Jim left Colonnade on tap. That could potentially be a Path to Exile, but it doesn't represent Lightning Bolt, so Justin can freely go to 3.
And this isn't on tap. I do think it is a Path to Exile in Jim's hand. So here's Path. Doing it on Justin's upkeep.
See if Justin found another Nourishing Shoal green creature.
Yeah, he'd want to find that or find another way to, like a Through the Breach, something else.
Yeah.
He does not. Justin gets the land. And if Jim untaps, we're done.
Yeah, these Snapcaster Mages, they come across the finish line pretty easily.
Yeah, there's still the Colonnade as well.
Yeah, the Goryo's Vengeance deck, one of the most explosive decks in the format. Also, one of the most glass cannon type decks.
Yeah, none of its cards play defense.
You cast your spells, you hope they're good. Sometimes you win on turn 2.
I guess they have 1 Lightning Axe, I think they play. That's their only removal spell. Collective Brutality.
We've been through the brutality.
Yeah.
Yes, so there's the 1 Lightning Axe.
Here is Tormenting Voice, discarding a land just to draw 2.
There were some Simian Spirit guys picked up off of that Gristlebrand.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Justin actually found something. Here's Faithless Looting. Draws 2 more. He needs to find another monster to Goryo's Vengeance or to Through the Breach. He has enough mana to do either. Discards 2 lands. Imagine saying he has nothing. He's F6'd.
Ha 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 ha.
It's a Moto joke.
Do you get it? It's because Jim can't commit any game actions.
Justin flashing back Faithless Looting. He can't Through the Breach anymore, and he just doesn't find anything. Picks up the cards. Jim has it.
I think
a miss for Justin.
That's what would happen anytime I tried to play Goryo's Vengeance.
You get a free turn, and then you just brick, and then you say, what am I doing?
Yeah, he played it smart. He got to splice the Goryo's Vengeance under the Nourishing Shoal. He's done his homework. He understands those interactions the deck is capable of, but sometimes he draws 7 and nothing happens. 7 cards is a lot of cards, but it's not all of them. Really needed to find another Nourishing Shoal green card or some kind of monster and a way to cheat it in.
Right, it's one of those differences with Gristlebrand and Legacy versus Modern, is that I almost was expecting him to draw a Force of Will, but then I was like, wait, they don't play Pact of Negation.
Yeah, wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
Check out some sideboards here.
All right, we'll start with Justin Crossley's sideboard. He says he's down a game. He has 3 Leyline of Sanctity, 2 Abrade, 2 Bantu's Last Reckoning. He actually does play 2 copies of Pact of Negation, and there they are. An Anger of the Gods, a second Collective Brutality, Engineer Explosives, Grim Lavamancer, Rakdos Charm. I haven't seen that since Splinter Twin was legal.
I hear people talk about it a lot. Doesn't show up too often.
No, and then Shattering Spree.
I like the Pact of Negations a good amount, and I like the second Collective Brutality. It's another discard effect. See if the coast is clear.
Sure. So the Rakdos Charm, it's Shatter. It can destroy an artifact. It can exile a graveyard, or a player takes 1 for each creature they control. Which mode is he playing that for?
Any, all. I think that the matchup that it's most for is actually Hollow One. You either destroy a Hollow One, or you can exile Bloodghast and Flamewake Phoenixes.
KCI?
Now, yeah, it seems reasonable there. Hitting the graveyards can be something. In a lot of these matchups, all these modes are pretty mopey for 2 mana.
Yeah.
But he's a red-black deck. How many options does he really have?
I can see that. On Jim's side with his sideboard, he's got 2 Ancestral Vision, 2 Dispel, 2 Surgical Extraction, a Blessed Alliance, Celestial Purge, Explosives, Elspeth, Staticaster, Negate, Stony Silence, Vendilion Click, and Wear Tear. A lot of good upgrades, actually.
Yeah, Jim gets a fair amount better. These 2 Dispels, they're great against basically everything Justin's doing.
Yeah, Vengeance and Breach are both instants.
Yep, the 2 Surgical Extractions, very good against Goryo's Vengeance.
Negate's great.
Yeah, Negate is great. Blessed Alliance is a question mark. It's like okay. Stopping Gristlebrand from connecting can be meaningful, depending on how you feel about your main deck cards, but the other ones are much better.
Yeah, I'm not as into that one. But, I mean, it's just a matchup I wasn't entirely expecting Jim to get the W game 1. But once we look at post-war games, he feels like he's a favorite.
Yeah, he has very significant upgrades, whereas Justin has very minor ones.
Well, the Pact of Negations should play on Justin's side, though they demand that he wins that turn.
They demand he wins that turn, and also they're only good if he's set up otherwise, where some of what Jim does fights over your setup.
Yeah, you mean the Gristlebrand needs to be in play, almost, or...
Yeah, well, you need to have Gristlebrand in your graveyard to be able to use Pack to fight over it, or maybe you can Pack with Through the Breach, but sometimes Jim just gets to Surgical you, and you don't get to path that.
Right, if Jim Surgicals you, if you turn 1 Faithless Looting, discarding a Gristlebrand, and Jim Surgicals it, I mean, you can't Pact. That makes sense. Playing Modern here today over at StarCityGames.com. We have our weekly sale, and this week has been about Modern. Up to 25% off different select Modern singles at the store. So you can head on over to StarCityGames.com, check out all the things on the store. They auto-discount and let you know that they're doing it. So great time to pick up and maybe finish up that last Modern deck. That goes on all weekend, so make sure you head on over. Our next sale starts on Monday morning at 11 o'clock. StarCityGames.com/weekly sale.
Good time to buy Fetches and Shocks, for sure.
6 cards for both players here, both taking a mulligan.
I got to pick up a couple odds and ends. I'm working on a cube. I need a Marsh Flats, and a Godless Shrine, and a Temple Garden. I have my 10 set of the good duels, so I'm good to go there, but I have a couple odds and ends to pick up. Yeah, amusingly, the white duels are the ones I was missing.
Why are you playing white cards? Why are you casting white spells? That's not Grixis.
I'm enabling other people to do it. The Grixis cube has been together for a while.
You should buy white duels and give them to your friends, and then beat them with the decks they create.
I actually traded an Underground Sea for a Plateau, a Scrubland, and a Tundra, and I have never felt more miserable trading 1 card for 3 in my life.
It's like when you buy that crappy controller for your game system, and then you play with the good one, and you always give your friend the crappy one, and then you win. That's why you pick up white dual lands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put them in the cube. I'm not going to draft them.
Well, yeah. The guy's like, hey, can we trade controllers? And you're like, man, and then they always say something like, I'm just so used to this one. I can't play with the other ones. But the other one's probably even better. I'm just too used to this.
Yeah, I play the game more than you. That's probably all it is.
Yeah. Your controller is better than mine. I'm just used to the classic ones,
Did anybody fall for that? I don't even.
It doesn't matter. They don't trade. You can call them out on it, but you don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get to trade.
I think when I was 8, and my older cousin would say things like that, I'd believe it.
No, I would never trust anybody related to me.
Well, I wouldn't now.
It looks like Jim has brought in Ancestral Vision, and both of them in the opening hand.
Yeah, his opening hand is Ancestral Vision, Ancestral Vision, Search for Escanta. It's a little much on card advantage. If he survives to turn 6, he's gonna win. Okay, yeah. He's gonna win by a lot.
His deck has a lot of cards that are good in phase 2.
Yeah, but this opening hand is just excellent in phase 2.
You have to survive.
Oh, here's a Serum Visions.
Jeez. Yeah, you can't even lead on Suspend Ancestral because he needs to find something he can play before 3 turns passed.
All right. Maybe you just cast that Search for Escanta and the Ancestrals don't happen and you shrug about it.
I have mulligan to 4 cards.
Yeah, that his hand is Ancestral Search. Oof. Another Serum Visions and a Glacial Fortress. He'll put them both to the bottom. Jim's hand needs help.
Yeah.
3 lands, Search, Visions. Temple of Malice from Justin. Says go.
Yeah, Justin again on that mold of 5, but that might be what Jim needed.
Do you cast Search or do you suspend 2 Visions? How
I don't really know that you want the Visions coming off on the same turn. Like, the Search is actually the most immediate value.
Yeah.
You get to scry.
But every turn you keep kicking the can down the road on suspending these things, the more hideously unplayable they get.
Yeah, I assume that Jim drew up his 6 and thought,
oh, boy.
What did I just do?
Here's a Hallowed Fountain. Yeah, the double suspend. All right. T-4. We got to survive. I don't know.
And when we get to turn 6, I'm going to have so many cards.
Yeah, and that if you resolve them in the right order, you can draw 3, and then you should have 7 cards in the yard to transform your search.
Wow.
So then you can tap 4 and draw a card.
So powerful.
Now Justin's casting Faithless Looting, and he might... Okay, no monster. He discards Pact Negation and says go.
Pact Negation gets a lot worse when you start mulliganing.
Justin's hand's not doing anything. Jim's deck literally hasn't done anything. It's just playing cantrips. He has not had a card that impacts the board. He has not drawn one yet. He has an Electrolyze, this Search for Escanta, and lands. Justin, show us something, anything.
Maybe flashback of Faithless Looting. Maybe
Cast
cast a fresh
another one. Did we do anything yet? If you just... There we go. There's World Spine Worm and Goryo's Vengeance. Trigger on. Shuffles it in.
Well, you see, World Spine Worm is not a legendary creature.
Oh, so it doesn't work. He must have another Goryo's if he's making that play, right?
Either that or he's building up to Through the Breach. Breaching a worm. Maybe it's like backup worm through the breach.
He can flash back that Faithless Looting. This hasn't been that impressive right now.
I'm inclined to agree. This match, this game on both sides, has not been very impressive.
All right, Jim's just setting up shop still. It's turn 4. Mill's over.
Do we have a point of interaction? We do!
Logic not!
How lucky.
Oh, now but our search won't transform.
Bummer.
We'll run out of cards if it doesn't transform.
We only get so many.
Justin's deck. I will say Goryo's Vengeance, of the combo decks with fail rates, it has some of the most embarrassing fail rates. This is... Losing to this hand is really gross.
Yeah, when Jeskai has a hand like this is when you really need to run him over.
There's like almost any deck in the format should be beating this hand.
Yeah. Jeskai qualifies as a deck in the format.
Jim will Electrolyze upstairs. Builds that graveyard. Yeah, so this is card 5 in the yard. We're going to get there.
We picked up a Surgical Extraction.
Okay.
Though it hasn't really been presented with interesting options.
Yeah, so next turn we're going to transform that search. When we draw 6 cards. It's going to be glorious.
It's an extra mana to start casting them.
Well, you're going to be discarding to hand size otherwise.
You sure are.
Let's see. Player discard. I'm checking my bingo card. Control player discards to hand size. Negative.
I got card cast off suspend. Gonna check that in a big way.
You know, when we drew the opening hands, I didn't think you'd get to check off that square.
Yeah, Justin has done a whole lot of nothing. Jim has given him all the time in the world, but that time is about to run out.
Jim shocks land 5. Surgical's Faithless Looting. There are 2 in the yard. I don't mind the play.
Yeah, Justin's been doing about nothing. So this should stop him from being able to clean his hand up.
He's in response, pitching Simian Spirit Guide and casting Through the Breach.
That'll meet a logic knot.
Yeah, that absolutely.
The old 5-mana mana leak.
Now he will Surgical. We see the hand is World Spine Worm.
Nourishing Shoal.
Nourishing Shoal, okay. He could have spliced Through the Breach onto that if he wanted, right? Splices for 2 in red.
Yeah.
They'd still have a Through the Breach.
He still have it Through the Breach, but yet, no, you have to pitch the
worm.
worm.
Yeah, the
That's
worm's
the
gone.
problem.
Right, it's not Goryo's Vengeance, it's Through the Breach.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If only you could breach in a creature that from the exile. Makes the order a little bit easier.
Faithless Lootings are gone, and now Jim will get to draw all the cards. Just all of them.
Only 7.
Just 7. No big.
That's too many cards.
I'd stack the Escanta in between the 2. You know, draw 3, then scry 1, then draw 3, because I just like being fancy.
I would draw them all and then scry. Because I don't like being fancy.
Jim's targeting himself with both.
Clever.
Picks up a Spell Snare. Now he scries.
Wasn't sure that we were going to see a target myself with Ancestral Vision strategy.
Jim draws again. Picks up a... Is that just like all lands? It's lands, Surgical.
There's a Surgical, a Lightning Helix, a Spell Snare.
And then just lands?
I think so.
Like we're actually still playing?
That might be strong. There's active Escanta, there's Spell Snare.
Okay.
The only card he has to worry about is Through the Breach with the texture of the hand.
Time to activate Escanta.
Oh, yeah.
All right, find more Logic Knots. Oh, how about negate Logic Knot? Take the second Escanta Lightning Bolt. You take negate.
Yeah. Pretty easy one.
Take another Escanta, go to work again. No, Lightning Helix, Justin down to 15.
Start putting those cards in the graveyard.
Take a third. Oh no, he only has 2 Ancestral Visions. I feel like just take an Ancestral Vision, suspend it. How good would that be?
I only drew lands. I better hit some more cards. Oh, let me just check that card cast off suspend box while we're here.
Jim is canting again. The last Escanta found 4 spells. This one finds 4 lands. He's just running terribly. But I don't think it matters.
I think he's doing all right. Logic Knot was the draw for turn.
He's got a lot of hard counters now.
Yeah. Dispel, negate, Spell Snare, pretty smooth sailing.
Click, Helix, Bolt. We'll take Bolt.
Helix and Bolt are the same card there.
Can't find Snapcasters with that Escanta. Fortunately, Jim drew one.
That was a good strategy.
He's going to have to use a Lightning Bolt if he doesn't want to discard to hand size. He'll shoot Justin down to 12.
Pretty big ass. Pretty tough to pull that one off.
All right. Justin's has not done anything in the last few turns.
Can't really argue that he's done much of anything in this entire game.
Not, you know.
It was a mulligan to 5.
Snapcast Lightning Bolt shoots Justin to 9.
I don't know. Any day now, Justin's going to gain 11 life. Then how's Jim going to win?
There's no way. Swings for 2, Justin to 7. Just a couple more hits remaining for Jim. Should bring him to 6-0, getting very close to that day 2 cut line.
Justin's got a lot of heart sticking in this game. I think his odds are pretty long. He's got a lot of heart. Jim's hand not so long ago was mostly lands. Now those lands are on the battlefield. Now he has many spells.
He just has more cards. Justin's deck doesn't really play straightforward Magic, so drawing more cards only has minimal value.
Mm-hmm. And we're at a point where if Justin goes for Nourishing Shoal, Jim can just counter that, and he has more counter backup. It's not even hard.
Says go. Wants to look at Jim's graveyard. That's fine.
You don't want to miss anything in a close game like this.
You can't. Gotta make sure you have your bases covered. What is going on? This is. All right. I'll activate Escanta. Got to find a little bit more burn. There we go. There's another lightning bolt.
Just takes Bolt over Cryptic Command. Love it.
Just take the Cryptic. Never be too safe.
Feeling like Jim's going to be fine. Just draws Cryptic anyway.
Justin to 5. Jim does have 2 lightning bolts in hand.
Convenient.
Oh my gosh, can we cast them? We're going to cast them.
I think he has enough mana.
Why are we in the tank?
At this point, it's fair for Jim to suspect something weird because, as we know, Justin's just not in this game at all.
So Nourishing, are we talking about Nourishing Shoal, or is that what we're playing around? Justin's at 2.
I don't think we're playing around Nourishing Shoal. He's trying to think if there's anything that Justin could have that actually matters. Nourishing Shoal's not it.
All right, pitching World Spine. I'm going to gain 11.
I'd dispel that. That's a 2-for-1.
I probably just wouldn't, but he will. He will. Justin's at 2.
It depends. Maybe Jim wants to stretch his legs, get the match over so he can go for a walk.
And there's another Bolt game and match. Jim Davis does close it out. So he'll improve to 6-0 with a convincing win over Goryo's Vengeance. That post-board game, the deck just not showing up.
Right. And for Jim there, you're right. He didn't have to counter the Nourishing Shoal. He could have just kept playing. But also, he was a lock. The game had been over for many turns, and things were only getting better for Jim over time.